The Forgotten Colony. The ground beneath Commander Zara Vex's 6 legs trembled violently as another seismic wave rippled through the mining facility. Her compound eyes tracked the damage reports flooding the command center screens, while her antennae twitched with growing anxiety. The Xanthari had built their colony on Kepler 442c to last for centuries, but now the planet itself seemed determined to shake them loose. "Commander, we're reading massive structural damage in Mining Sector 7, reported Dr. Crix Dolor, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the emergency lighting. As the colony's chief scientist, Crix had been the first to identify the planetary instability that now threatened their existence. "The crystal extraction equipment is completely destroyed, and we're detecting toxic gas leaks throughout the lower levels." Zara's mandibles clicked together in frustration. The rare quantum crystals they had been mining for the past 40 years were essential to faster-than-light travel across the galaxy. Their small colony of 8,000 Xanthari had faithfully served the Galactic Trade Federation, extracting these precious resources from deep within Kepler 442c's unstable crust. Now that very instability was about to destroy everything they had built. "What about the evacuation shuttles?" Zara asked, though she already knew the answer would disappoint her. 3 are completely non-functional after yesterday's quake," Crix replied, his voice carrying the weight of their situation. "The remaining 2 can carry maybe 300 individuals each if we overload them dangerously. We have 8,000 colonists, Commander. The mathematics are not encouraging." The command center shuddered again as another earthquake struck. This one lasted longer than the previous tremors, and Zara could hear the distant sound of collapsing structures echoing through the reinforced walls. Through the observation window, she watched as purple clouds of toxic gas began seeping from newly formed cracks in the ground. "How long do we have?" she asked quietly. Crix consulted his readings, his multiple eyes scanning the data with practiced efficiency. "The planetary core destabilization is accelerating. Based on current seismic patterns and gas emission rates, I estimate we have perhaps 6 standard days before the atmospheric toxicity reaches lethal levels. After that, even our environmental suits won't protect us for long." 6 days. Zara felt a chill run through her exoskeleton despite the warm command center air. 6 days to evacuate 8,000 colonists with only 2 partially functioning shuttles. The Xanthari were not a species given to despair, but even their natural optimism struggled against such overwhelming odds. "Have we received any response from the Federation?" she asked, though she had checked the communications herself just an hour earlier. "Yes, Commander," Crix said, his voice taking on a bitter edge. "The Federation Council transmitted their final decision this morning. The holographic display activated, showing the stern face of Trade Commissioner Voltus, a draconian whose species had held significant power within the Federation for generations. His scaled features showed no emotion as he delivered his message. "Mining Colony K442c, your request for emergency evacuation has been reviewed by the Federation Council. After careful consideration of resource allocation and current trade priorities, we regret to inform you that no vessels can be spared for your situation. The economic value of your colony does not justify the expense of a full-scale rescue operation. We recommend you utilize your existing shuttles and attempt local evacuation to nearby systems. The Federation thanks you for your 40 years of faithful service." End transmission. The message ended, leaving the command center in uncomfortable silence. 40 years of faithful service, and this was their reward. Zara had watched 3 generations of Xanthari grow up in this colony, had seen families build lives among the purple-leafed vegetation they had cultivated in the biodomes. All of it meant nothing to the Federation's cold calculations. "Local evacuation," she said bitterly. "The nearest habitable system is 17 light-years away. Our shuttles have a maximum range of 3 light-years with full fuel tanks." "I've been working on modifications," Crix said quickly. "If we strip out all non-essential systems and overload the fuel cells, we might extend their range to perhaps 5 light-years. But that would still leave us far short of safety, and the shuttles would likely suffer catastrophic failures during the journey." Another tremor shook the facility, this one strong enough to crack one of the reinforced windows. Through the spiderweb of damage, Zara could see more toxic clouds rising from the mining sites. The planet was dying beneath them, and soon it would take everyone on it. Continue working on the shuttle modifications, she ordered. Even a slim chance is better than none. And keep broadcasting our distress signal on all frequencies. Someone out there might hear us. The following days passed in a blur of desperate activity. The Xanthari worked tirelessly to repair what could be fixed and evacuate what they could save. The colony's children were given priority for the first shuttle flights to the outer system's asteroid belt, where they might survive a few more days in environmental suits. The adults remained behind, either working on repairs or helping others prepare for what seemed like an inevitable end. On the fourth day, as Zara supervised the loading of the second shuttle with elderly colonists, the unthinkable happened. The ground split open near the main residential dome, releasing a massive cloud of toxic gas that began drifting toward the command center. Emergency alarms wailed across the colony as Xanthari scrambled for environmental suits and sealed areas. "Commander," Crix called out through the communication system, his voice strained. "We're reading massive core instability. My calculations were wrong. We don't have 6 days. We have perhaps 18 hours before the toxic saturation reaches critical levels." 18 hours. Zara felt her legs nearly give out beneath her. They had perhaps 500 colonists evacuated to the asteroid belt, but over 7,000 remained on the planet's surface. Even if they could somehow get the shuttles working again, there wasn't time for multiple trips. She made her way to the communication center, determined to send one final message to anyone who might be listening. As she activated the long-range transmitter, she noticed something unusual on the sensor display. A small blip appeared at the edge of their system, moving too fast to be an asteroid but too small to be a Federation vessel. "Crix, are you seeing this?" she called out. "Yes, Commander. Unknown vessel, medium displacement, approaching from beyond the galactic rim. It's not broadcasting any identification signals, but it appears to be responding to our distress beacon." For the first time in days, Zara felt something that might have been hope stirring in her chest. "Can you identify the ship design?" "Negative. It doesn't match any Federation or independent trader configuration in our database. The energy signature is completely unknown." The mysterious vessel continued its approach, growing larger on their sensors with each passing hour. As it entered the outer reaches of their system, it finally transmitted a response to their distress signal. The voice that came through their speakers was unlike anything any Xanthari had heard before. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth vessel New Horizon. We've received your distress signal and are responding to offer assistance. Please transmit your situation status and population count for evacuation planning." Earth. None of the Xanthari had ever heard of such a place. The voice was strange. Neither the harsh consonants of draconian speech nor the melodic tones of the Vespian traders who occasionally visited their system. This was something entirely new. "Unknown vessel New Horizon," Zara transmitted back, her voice trembling slightly. "This is Commander Zara Vex of Mining Colony K4042C. We are facing planetary evacuation due to core instability and atmospheric poisoning. Population is approximately 8,000 individuals of the Xanthari species. We have limited evacuation capability and require immediate assistance." The response came quickly, without the delays that usually accompanied long-distance negotiations or bureaucratic consideration. "Commander Vex, this is Captain Chen. We're 6 hours out from your position. Transmit your species' biological requirements and atmospheric needs. We're preparing our cargo bays for refugee accommodation. Hold your position and maintain hope. Help is coming. Maintain hope." Such simple words, but they carried a weight that the Federation's cold dismissal had lacked. As the unknown Earth vessel approached their dying world, Zara found herself believing that perhaps against all odds they might actually survive this disaster. Whoever these humans were, they had done something the mighty Galactic Trade Federation had refused to do. They had answered the call for help. The human way, the Earth vessel. New Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442c system, its hull gleaming silver against the starfield. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge, studying the tactical display that showed the deteriorating planet and the desperate situation of its inhabitants. His crew worked efficiently around him, preparing for what would be one of the most challenging rescue operations in human space exploration history. "What's our assessment, Lieutenant?" Chen asked, turning to his navigation officer. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez looked up from her console, her expression grim. "Captain, the planet's in bad shape. Seismic activity is off the charts, and we're detecting massive atmospheric contamination. According to their transmissions, we have maybe 12 hours before conditions become lethal, even with environmental protection." 12 hours to evacuate 8,000 alien refugees, Chen mused, running a hand through his graying hair. "What's our cargo capacity? If we reconfigure the cargo bays and use every available space, including the gymnasium and recreation areas, we might accommodate 6,000 individuals," replied Chief Engineer Tommy Walsh, his Irish accent thick with concern. "But that's assuming their biological needs are compatible with our life support systems." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist, stepped forward with a datapad in her hands. "I've been analyzing the biological data they transmitted, Captain. The Xanthari are arthropod-based, requiring similar atmospheric composition to humans but with slightly higher humidity and different dietary needs. We can accommodate them, but it'll be tight." "What about the remaining 2,000? Chen asked. "We'll have to make multiple trips," Rodriguez suggested, though with the planetary deterioration timeline that might not be possible. Chen studied the display showing the dying planet below. In his 20 years of space exploration, he had encountered many species and situations, but this was different. These weren't enemies or competitors. They were innocent people facing extinction, abandoned by their own allies and left to die simply because saving them wasn't economically profitable. "Tommy, how long to fully reconfigure our cargo spaces?" he asked. 4 hours if we work flat out, Captain. The crew's already volunteering for double shifts." "Do it. Sarah, plot a course to their primary settlement. Elena, prepare medical facilities for potential casualties and biological incompatibility issues, and get me a direct line to their commander." The communication system crackled to life and the image of Commander Zara Vex appeared on the main screen. Chen had to suppress his surprise at seeing his first live alien. The Xanthari commander's insectoid features were striking but, somehow, conveyed the same determination and concern he'd seen in human officers facing impossible odds. "Captain Chen," Zara said, her voice carrying through the translation matrix they had established. "Your vessel is much smaller than we anticipated. Are you certain you can accommodate our population?" "Commander, we're going to do everything humanly possible to get your people to safety," Chen replied firmly. "My crew is already converting our ship to carry as many refugees as we can manage. We'll make it work." "But why?" Zara asked, her compound eyes reflecting genuine confusion. "You know nothing about us. We have no trade agreements, no political alliances. Your species isn't even part of the Galactic Federation. What do you gain from risking your vessel and crew for strangers?" Chen considered the question for a moment. It was true that Earth had no formal relationships with any galactic powers. Humanity had only recently developed reliable faster-than-light travel and were still exploring their local galactic neighborhood. They had encountered a few other species but had mostly been ignored or dismissed as primitive newcomers to the cosmic community. "Commander, where I come from, we have a saying," he said finally. "We judge ourselves not by how we treat our friends, but by how we treat those who have nothing to offer us in return. Your people are in danger. That's reason enough." The next few hours passed in controlled chaos as the New Horizons crew worked to transform their exploration vessel into a refugee transport. Personal quarters were emptied and converted to dormitory-style accommodations. The ship's hydroponic gardens were expanded to provide food compatible with Xanthari biology. Environmental controls were adjusted to create the higher humidity the insectoid species required. As they worked, more disturbing news came from the planet's surface. The toxic gas emissions had accelerated, and several residential domes had already been evacuated. Time was running out faster than anyone had calculated. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, "we're receiving transmissions from other ships in nearby systems. Word of the Xanthari situation has spread, and several Federation vessels are in the area. Are they coming to help? Chen asked hopefully. Negative, sir. They're warning us against interfering in Federation internal affairs. Apparently, the Xanthari colony is still technically under Federation jurisdiction, and they're claiming we have no authority to intervene. Chen felt anger building in his chest. Even now, with thousands of lives at stake, the Federation was more concerned about jurisdiction and authority than saving people. Rodriguez, transmit this message to any Federation vessels monitoring our communications. The New Horizon is conducting a humanitarian rescue operation in response to a distress call. Any vessel attempting to interfere will be considered hostile. Sir, we're just one ship, Rodriguez said quietly. If they decide to stop us, then they'll have to live with watching 8,000 people die because they cared more about paperwork than lives. Chen replied grimly. The New Horizon entered orbit, around Kepler 4m2c, just as the planet's largest moon was setting behind the gas giant in the distance. Through the view screen, they could see the Xanthari colony spread across a valley, its domed structures gleaming in the alien sunlight. Columns of purple smoke rose from several areas, and even from orbit, they could see the signs of ongoing seismic activity. Shuttle Bay teams report status, Chen ordered. Bay 1 ready for continuous operation, Captain, came the reply. We've got 5 shuttles prepped for surface runs and the cargo transporters are standing by. Begin evacuation operations immediately. Prioritize children, elderly, and medical cases first. Transport directly to our modified cargo bays. The rescue operation began with precision that would have impressed any military commander. Human shuttles descended to the planet's surface, their pilots navigating through increasingly turbulent atmospheric conditions. The Xanthari had organized their people with admirable efficiency, creating evacuation queues and priority lists, despite the chaos around them. As the first shuttle loads of refugees arrived aboard the New Horizon, Dr. Vasquez worked tirelessly to ensure their biological needs were met. The Xanthari children, in particular, were fascinating to observe. Despite their alien appearance, they displayed the same curiosity and resilience that human children showed in crisis situations. Captain, Tommy Walsh reported from the engine room, we're at 60% capacity and the structural modifications are holding, but we're pushing our life support systems to the absolute limit. How many more can we safely take? Chen asked. Maybe another 1,000, but after that we risk life support failure for everyone aboard. Chen studied the evacuation reports. They had rescued nearly 5,000 Xanthari, but almost 3,000 remained on the planet's surface. The toxic gas levels were rising rapidly, and the remaining shuttles were struggling with the deteriorating atmospheric conditions. Sir, Rodriguez called out, we're receiving a priority transmission from the planet, it's Commander Vex. Zara's image appeared on the screen, but she was now wearing a full environmental suit. Behind her, Chen could see other Xanthari in similar gear, working frantically to maintain their equipment. Captain Chen, she said, her voice distorted by the suit's communication system. The situation has deteriorated beyond our worst projections. We have perhaps 4 hours before the atmosphere becomes lethal even with protection. My people who remain, we understand if you cannot risk your ship further. Commander, we're not leaving anyone behind, Chen said firmly. Tommy, what if we use the cargo transporters at maximum range? Can we beam people directly from the surface? It's risky, Captain, Walsh replied. The atmospheric interference is severe, and we've never tested the transporters on non-human biology. We could lose people in transit. What's the alternative? Chen asked. Leave them to die? Walsh nodded grimly. I'll reconfigure the transporters for maximum efficiency. We'll need precise coordinates for each evacuation site. The final phase of the rescue operation was the most dangerous. Using the ship's transporters, they began beaming Xanthari directly from the planet's surface to the cargo bays. The process was slow and dangerous, requiring precise calculations to account for the atmospheric interference and the aliens' unfamiliar biology. With 2 hours remaining before the projected atmospheric collapse, they had rescued all but 300 Xanthari. These final refugees were trapped in a damaged section of the colony where transporter locks couldn't penetrate the interference from leaking gas and metal debris. "Captain," Rodriguez reported, "we're detecting massive seismic activity building toward a critical event. If we don't leave orbit soon, the planetary shock waves could damage our systems." Chen stared at the tactical display, weighing the lives of 300 aliens against the safety of his ship and the nearly 8,000 people already aboard. In Federation space, the choice would be simple: save the majority and accept the losses, but Chen found he couldn't make that calculation. "Tommy, what's the absolute maximum our ship can handle?" he asked. "Sir, if we shut down all non-essential systems, convert the bridge ready room and officer quarters, and risk total life support failure, we might accommodate everyone. But if something goes wrong, we all die together instead of leaving 300 people to die alone," Chen finished. "Do it." The final rescue effort pushed the New Horizon beyond all safety margins. Every available space was filled with refugees. Humans gave up their personal quarters to accommodate Xanthari families. The ship's environmental systems were pushed to the breaking point, recycling air and water at dangerous efficiency levels. As the last Xanthari transporter signature materialized in the cargo bay, the planet below began its final convulsions. Massive earthquakes shattered the remaining colony structures, and toxic clouds billowed into the upper atmosphere. The New Horizon pulled away from orbit just as the first shockwaves reached into space. In the ship's main cargo bay, 8,000 Xanthari survivors sat in organized groups, their compound eyes reflecting the gratitude they couldn't adequately express in words. Commander Zara Vex stood beside Captain Chen, watching through the view screen as her world died behind them. "Captain," she said quietly, "my people will never forget what you have done here. You risked everything for strangers, for people you had never met, and who could offer you nothing in return." Chen nodded, feeling the weight of command and the satisfaction of doing what was right. "Commander, where we come from, we believe that's just what people do for each other. Today you were strangers. Tomorrow maybe we'll be friends." As the New Horizon set course for the nearest habitable system where the Xanthari could begin rebuilding their lives, word of the rescue spread throughout the galaxy. The humans had done something the mighty Galactic Federation had refused to do. They had proven that sometimes the right thing and the practical thing were the same thing. And across the galaxy, other species began to wonder about these humans, who valued life over profit, who risked everything for strangers, and who had just announced their presence to the cosmic community in the most dramatic way possible. The age of human exploration had begun, and it would be defined not by conquest or trade, but by the simple principle that no one should face extinction alone.